Alright, so over at Goji Center, I saw this video pop up, how Godzilla must die. Came up a few days ago, and it made me so depressed I decided, yeah, I'm not going to watch it until now, because I was crying myself to sleep. Because I can't imagine Godzilla dying. I mean, obviously, if he does die, there's going to be someone to replace him, a Godzilla Jr. or something, because he can't just die and just not be there, you know? But, yeah, it's got me real sad, so I'm gonna see what Goji Center has to say and see what, because this could be a plot in the new movie, and it is making me a little scared. But anyways, check out Goji Center, give some love, support, and let's just get straight to it and get some depression. Let's go. Video explores hypothetical concepts and theories regarding the death of Godzilla and is not suitable for mentally unstable audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. You hear that? If you're mentally disabled, I mean, whatever.
Will the G-Man ever die in the Monsterverse?
He better not.
And if he does, in what way should the King of the Monsters make his exit?
I'm gonna slap everyone at that production company. If we can slap them in their faces if they dare kill him off.
For Monsterverse Godzilla to appropriately make his farewell. One of the things popping in many people's minds right now is, why even bring up this topic?
Yeah.
Simple. Not too long ago, the latest outing in the Monsterverse was announced, not only giving us several hints, possibly revealing several plot points and giving us a general idea of what sort of elements will be present in this new movie, but also a very interesting word that made us at Goji Center HQ raise an eyebrow.
What was it?
Supernova. Now, we did cover this concept a tiny bit in a previous
I would have thought it was something in the description, not in the title.
And of course, entertain the road of speculation until more official info is released. Now, Godzilla dying isn't something new. In fact, it's happened several times already,
I was gonna bring
recently.
Yeah, I was going to bring up, but I didn't want to break the flow. I was gonna just bring up that he has died before in the past. Like there was one where he went to Hull and then came back. I'm pretty sure he died during the end there, but
let's quickly
I said that I didn't watch it. I'm not. That's way before my time. But I know he's died before.
Potentially predict any possible circumstance in which Monsterverse Godzilla could also die. Godzilla's debut on the silver screen was also accompanied by a side of tragedy, at least for those that sympathized with the big atomic lizard. It was the year 1954, and one of the very first widely popular depictions of a big monster on screen. Here, Godzilla was depicted as a monster affected by nuclear testing that emerges from the sea and attacks Tokyo.
Nuclear testing? Oh yes, nuclear warheads breaking it near the ocean. Yeah.
And scientific efforts, thanks to Dr. Serizawa sacrificing himself, and with himself and all scientific efforts, thanks to Dr. Serizawa.
I don't know Serizawa was a pirate back then. Damn! Does he have a peg leg? I need to see. Show me the legs.
And with himself the knowledge of the next super weapon, in an effort to kill Gojira and spare the nation from further onslaught. Another infamous confirmed instance of Godzilla dying was the incident in Godzilla vs. Destroya in 1995.
That is true. So if Destroya is the enemy or the big bad of the next movie, then this could be a follow-up from this movie.
Causing it to literally melt and die.
Destroya, if Destroya is the new big bad, it could be the plot point for Godzilla to die and a new one to come in.
It does follow the pattern of a Godzilla attacking a populated location. Zilla in 1998 was shown attacking New York and killed by humans by missile barrages while restrained by
I need to know. This might be an unpopular opinion, also sorry for pausing, but I actually like this one. This is Zilla. I liked Zilla. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a cool idea, nice little change up on it, but obviously not the one to love, but I didn't hate it. I know the other people that disliked it, but I honestly didn't mind it at all. And let me know in the comments what you guys thought of Godzilla. I thought it was pretty cool.
Moving on to the more modern era,
although it didn't have any atomic abilities though.
From the anime trilogy Planet of the Monsters is
Godzilla Earth is insane.
Confirmed dead Godzilla, even though Godzilla Earth, the big guy, is still alive.
Plant-based organism.
You may have noticed that we skipped over a few. That's because nobody at the time could say for sure that
those
Godzilla
are mini destroyers, isn't it?
For instance, let's go back to 1984, where Godzilla ends up trapped inside a volcano. While many believed that this was an implication of Gojira's death for a while, this was then proven false 5 years later in Godzilla vs. Biollante. Jumping to the year 2001,
and what happened in the lava then?
Case where Godzilla appears to be dead, but then it's revealed that his heart is still beating. A similar case to this,
The
and
heck?
perhaps one of the most debated
Oh, very, very-
instances of
oh,
whether
good,
Godzilla
very old
died or
movie, I'm
not
so
was
stupid.
that of Shin Godzilla, where he was technically frozen using internal coagulants that
Oh,
caused
yes.
his internal fission.
I haven't watched the
Depending
movie.
on
I do
your
actually want to
definition of
watch
what
the
is
movie.
considered death or not, one thing is for sure.
That was very quick.
This thing is, for now, out of commission. The most recent instance of a Godzilla death was that
Godzilla
scene
minus
in
one.
where after several attempts of using the pressure of the ocean against the lizard failed, it seems like the classic brain go boom method once again came in clutch. However, although this particular Godzilla is technically dead, its remains are implied to bring forth a successor in a later sequel.
Yeah.
These were just some of the many
That's what I'm
instances of
assuming is
Godzilla
gonna be
seemingly
something
dying,
that happens
making an
in-
exit, or just being temporarily
If
out of
Godzilla were to
commission.
die in Legendary.
What can we learn from these instances? Well, there seems to be some patterns that we're picking up.
So the pattern is, if Godzilla dies, there will be a successor. Because you can't have a biome or a environment without a Godzilla to keep the order and the peace, in my opinion. That's what I'm
The
thinking is going to
several
happen.
unaliving instances discussed already.
Because without
note that
Godzilla to
in
keep the
all
balance,
movies
everything's going to
where
go into
Godzilla
chaos
is
and
portrayed as
Titans
an
are going to go
animal that is attacking
rampant,
humans, this is
and
where
then you're
Godzilla
never going to
gets
stop them.
killed by human efforts. In 1954, Godzilla was killed by the man-made oxygen destroyer.
Yeah.
Godzilla, although being portrayed as a force of nature and not necessarily out to kill humanity, dies all the same by human-crafted weapons.
Yeah, humans are pieces
Godzilla
of
Phyllis,
shit.
a Godzilla specimen notably hostile to humans,
this is the Earth
attacking them on
Godzilla
sight,
Earth.
rather than waiting for them to engage, also was killed by a combination of his own actions and the triggering of EMP probes. Shin Godzilla, who was depicted to
I don't
plow
watch his
through
movies. I don't
densely
remember him
populated
dying.
areas, put out of
Maybe I'm
commission
just
by
stupid.
coagulants. Godzilla minus one, a Godzilla who evidently held a grudge against humanity and took it out on the inhabitants of
That is
Ginza,
true.
murdering
If you watch the
many
movie,
thousands,
he's like, he's
killed by
pissed off at them
human-made
all the time.
weaponry. And finally, another additional example.
Ultima.
Godzilla Ultima from Singular Point
Ultima is dope.
was
Isn't it a 13th dimensional
decommissioned
being?
after turning into a pile of crystal after being
Oh,
portrayed
shit.
to attack human establishments many times. So, seems like at least in most cases of a Godzilla reincarnation who constantly messes with humanity tends to be stopped or killed by humanity.
That is true.
An in-between point or case would be that
Humans
of
always
Godzilla
cause so much
versus
shit.
Mechagodzilla 2, where humanity seems to be the troublemaker in capturing and using the infant Godzilla as bait. Add to the fact that
Goji
Godzilla
Center.
isn't necessarily out to fight humanity, but dragged into a fight started by humans. Here, Godzilla almost died,
Humans
but then
almost always piece
resuscitated
of
by
shit.
Rodan's sacrifice. But what about the other instances? Recapping what was seen in Godzilla vs. Destroya, here Godzilla wasn't portrayed as the type of anti-human destroyer we saw in the 50s, but similar to the anti-hero Godzilla we know and love, legendary Godzilla.
Yeah.
The similarities in character are almost identical.
By anti-hero, he doesn't mean like he's against humanity. He just doesn't care. He does whatever is needed to protect the environment and Earth, whether we get in the way or not. Because they were here
Note how
before,
here
so we are
Godzilla
just like
doesn't
ants.
Get killed by humans, or at least they didn't try to. In fact, here they were depicted.
Why
killed by
is
humans,
Godzilla farting
or
out
at
some
least
clouds
they
here? What is
didn't
that?
try to. In fact,
Getting out of
here they were
storm.
depicted monitoring and trying to help him. This, of course, ended up being useless as we see Godzilla succumb to this meltdown.
Yeah, too much radiation.
Seeing as to how Godzilla died in the past, what does this tell us about how Godzilla could die in the future? Well, in the Monsterverse, he
Oh, no.
almost died again. Recall the incident in 2019 during Godzilla King of
I
the
almost
Monsters,
died, yeah, with
where
the Ocean
Admiral
Destroyer.
Sands told the Monarch crew to get the hell out of the coast of Ilha Damara due to an incoming oxygen destroyer. Yes, this turned out to be one of the only weapons that were very effective against Godzilla, to the point of
Yeah.
weakening his heart rate so much that he was seemingly dead. That or his radioactive levels turned so weak that they turned undetectable to Monarch's bioacoustic sensors.
Yeah,
upon the G-Man's
that was a
retreat.
horrible
Godzilla
scene.
was then charged up in an inverted
With a nuke
sequence
to the
of events
face
to
for the
that in
boss.
1954, where Dr. Ishiro Serizawa instead sacrificed his life to save Godzilla. Given that Godzilla almost died in King of the Monsters and suffered a meltdown in Godzilla vs. Destroya while being the anti-hero that he was portrayed as, we might see this happen again in the not-so-near future. One thing that the Monsterverse has established pretty well is that this Godzilla isn't necessarily evil. That being, he's not out to eliminate humanity out of spite. And when he does kill humans, it's because he's provoked. Or
Yeah,
we
or they
just
got
so
in the way.
happen to be collateral damage.
Yep, got in the
Instead,
way,
he's
not where we're
portrayed as a
supposed to be.
guardian of the natural order, eliminating threats to the
Exactly
planet,
what
or
I
just
said.
making sure that
Exactly
the
what I
threats are
said.
kept in check.
Am I just
And when they
amazing or
aren't,
what?
Well, y'all know what happens. Since this Godzilla and humans aren't at a crossroads just yet, it's likely that the death of Godzilla is going to happen in a battle with another Titan threat. And since we've
It's
seen
most
the
likely
case of
Destroyer
King of the
or
Monsters
Space
and
Godzilla
versus
or
Destroyer, where Godzilla goes
Mecha
through a
Godzilla.
meltdown, who knows if this
No,
is what's going
not
to
Mecha
happen
Godzilla,
again. And how, you may ask?
What's the other one called? I can't remember.
Supernova. This word alone carries many implications, but most definitely involves phenomena and elements from outer space.
Oh my god, there's like 3D images
Another
hurting my
pattern seen
mind.
So far is seeing Godzilla absorbing different sorts of energy to take on different and increasingly powerful forms. We have seen Godzilla absorb radioactive energy 3 times, one which almost killed him. We have also seen Godzilla absorb DNA from other kaiju twice already.
Yeah.
So, will this
Oh,
happen
imagine
again?
they kill, if it's
For those
Destroyer,
who
he
need to
kills
recap,
them and he
a
absorbs his
supernova is a
abilities.
powerful
Damn,
explosion
Godzilla
that
gonna be
happens when
OP.
a massive star
Imagine you can
reaches
fly.
the end of its life.
That'd be cool.
Throughout its lifetime, a star burns fuel in its core to stay stable and shine. But when it runs out of fuel, it can no longer support itself, and gravity causes it to collapse inward very quickly. This sudden collapse triggers a massive explosion called a supernova, which can become so bright that it outshines an entire galaxy for a short time.
Oh.
After the explosion, what remains could be a dense neutron star or even a black hole. The blast also sends stardust and important elements into space, which can later help form new stars, planets, and possibly new life.
Yeah.
Alright, so lots to digest
Interesting.
here,
I actually didn't know that.
especially
It's
since we
interesting.
just discussed the most spectacular form of death in the universe.
This kind of looks like the eye. If you look close at your, I don't know if it's called the cornea or not the iris, not the black part, the colored part of your eye. If you look very close, it looks like this kind of like webbing or branch or whatever you want to call this. It's like that kind of, looks like that kind of. It's very interesting to keep eye up, like up and close to an eye. It looks weird, but it's pretty cool.
Now, we aren't here to say that Godzilla will definitely die in the next movie. After all, this could be something that happens to the opposing kaiju that fights Godzilla. Whoever
Hopefully,
that might
Godzilla's
be.
gonna kick his
But
ass.
let's
I believe. I
pretend
love
for a moment
Godzilla.
that this does
My favorite.
happen to Godzilla. Some folks at Goji HQ developed a fun little theory that shouldn't
Better
be
not
taken
die.
at all seriously. So sit back, relax, and hear us out.
Yeah.
There were a few hints given
Remember,
by the
guys,
cast
just
members of what
hypothetical.
might happen in
Even
the
though they
next
say it
movie.
there, I'm just
As
saying it
mentioned
again,
in the
in
previous
case you
video
can't read.
discussing this title
'Cause I
reveal
know we're
trailer,
all
one of the
geniuses.
cast members, Alicia Devon Carey, posted this. 2 fairies, a
Oh, my, with
shooting
the
star,
flashbang.
bone, and dinosaur. Now, shooting
2
stars are
goals,
technically
star.
meteors, which normally burn up before hitting the Earth's crust, but sometimes they don't. Just
That's
as
so
these
cool.
guys. But less rarely, some end up hitting the Earth, providing Earth's inhabitants with unique metal alloys that are pretty rare by our standards. And in this world of science fiction, anything is fair game when it comes to elements coming from outer space. The theory goes that if Earth does indeed get hit by a shooting star, this alien material could contain a new radioactive element that is not found on Earth. And you may already guess where this is going.
That is very true. But I mean, if you came from a star,
exceptionally sensitive to
you
these
saw
sort
the
of
radiation.
phenomena would
I don't know.
likely race to be the first to inspect and possibly even absorb this new energy, bringing forth a brand new form to Godzilla, but
With
also
the
one
bright
that the
orange.
G-Man's
Wouldn't that be
earthly
amazing?
biology isn't quite
I know we
used
saw from the
to,
thumbnail, but that just
possibly
seems
bringing
amazing.
up some
Except that
issues in its
blinded me. That was
internal
a
anatomy that
flashbang. I did not like that.
compromise him, and potentially seeing another King of the Monsters scenario where he's about to blow. This aligns well with the Zosla Halawa
In my opinion, I want to see a purple Godzilla, not pink, purple.
The Godzilla who
Or
ate a star
green.
may be
Oh.
reinterpreted in this new film as a prophecy and an event that happened in the past, explaining why we see many Kongs, hence Kong's newly acquired army, and a red supercharged Godzilla fighting a new threat. That said, we shouldn't discard the idea that if Godzilla
So
did
it
indeed
could either be a
consume said
prophecy or it
stars
could have
in the
been
past,
something that happened
for
already.
energy sources,
That's cool.
It won't be surprising if he does this yet again. This is without mentioning that someone else could have gotten to this meteorite site first and absorbed the energy. That, or some sort of organism managed to crack out of said craft and Godzilla siphoned up any leftover energy. The word
That's true.
supernova comes to scare us again, with the implication that Godzilla would likely die in battle similar to what almost happened last time in King of the Monsters.
But he will die this time.
Taking the
Oh,
highly
man.
marketable supernova form and sacrificing his life for the conservation of Earth. We understand how this may stir up some mixed feelings with many of you. We also
would
do
suck.
agree that it is too early to completely kill off Godzilla. This early
100%. You
in the
can't kill him. It's
especially
his
with other
franchise.
titans like Destroyer waiting patiently to make their debut in this cinematic universe. But there may be a flip side to this.
Look at that.
Assuming
The
that
color
Godzilla
scheme.
does
Hold
cinematic
on.
Universe. But there may be
Does that just not look amazing? Look at that color scheme, mate. Damn. I love the color.
The flip side to this.
It actually looks like the sun.
Does indeed die in battle and seemingly sacrifice himself for the conservation of Earth. Both an honorable way to go and one which many of our fans agree with. Who's to say that Godzilla won't return in the next trilogy?
No, for sure. There has to be some sort of... If he does die, there has to be a replacement.
Film incident implying that Godzilla died, but ends up returning in the next film. A perfect way to set up the next trilogy of the Monsterverse. So, bottom line is, don't be surprised if Godzilla seemingly makes a heroic exit in this next outing. We may just see him come back more powerful than before.
I hope so.
Especially with progressively more powerful foes.
The heck is that? I haven't seen this anyways. Yeah, okay. I would like to see Godzilla get another power-up and for him to just absolutely destroy. Obviously with a lot of effort, but yeah, if he does die, there has to be a replacement. You can't just kill off Godzilla and then that's it. That's not gonna happen. I will personally go and kick them all in the nuts. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, go check out Goji Center, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.